Hello and welcome to Tech Latest by Nikkei Asia, where we bring you the freshest updates from the technology sector in Asia. Every episode, one of our reporters from the region will be filling us in on the tech news on their radar, from semiconductors in China to space travel in Japan to startups in Indonesia. From Nikkei Asia's Tokyo headquarters, I'm Alice French. In this episode, I'm talking with Annie Cheng Ting Fang, our chief tech correspondent from Taipei, about the waves that the impending release of Apple's new iPhone 15 has been making across Asia. Hi, Annie. Thanks so much for coming on to chat today.
Hi, Alice. Thank you. I'm very glad to be here.
So we're continuing last week's theme of smartphones, but this time honing in on the world's best-selling one, which is, of course, the Apple iPhone. The US tech giant unveiled its latest iPhone 15 on Tuesday with much fanfare. Annie, what's caught your eye about the new model so far?
Apple's iPhone 15 series launch this week is viewed by some market watchers as the most anticipated launch event for the company's most important product, iPhone. But some points worth mentioning. First, its premium model iPhone 15 Pro and the 15 Pro Max are the world's first adapter of the industry's most cutting-edge 3-nanometer chip, produced by chipmaker TSMC, meaning that in the same size of a chip, it can have more computing power and be more energy efficient. And second, all the charging ports of iPhones now need to be changed to USB Type-C rather than the current Lightning interface due to EU regulations. So it means you cannot use old iPhone cables to charge your new iPhones. But good news is that it will be the same as MacBook charging cord. Also, the premium models adopt titanium alloy, a space-grade material for casings to offer more endurance.
Right, so like you say, the new model brings a lot of new and intriguing features. But the new iPhone launch hasn't gone completely smoothly for Apple, right? There's been some talk of potential restrictions around the gadget's use in China.
Yes, and also sounds intriguing, but people still worry about whether that could become very attractive selling points amid a slow economy in China and elsewhere. And also exactly the timing is very interesting. It seems that Apple has become Beijing's next target in the next round of the US-China tech battle, because China has been telling government employees from the central government down to local authorities, as well as workers at state-owned companies, not to use iPhone and foreign-made mobile phones. The curve, according to our reporting, could start as early as October for departments dealing with trade secrets, and then expand to all staff by next March. And even Apple Watch and AirPod wireless earphones are prohibited from bring into the workplace, according to Nikkei Asia stories. And the Chinese Foreign Ministry spokesperson Mao Ning actually on Wednesday downplayed that the government has formally issued any real restrictions, but added that it has noticed media reports of security issues regarding the iPhones. So actually, it seems like a soft warning to Apple, saying that they have some security issues. Still, more than 19% of Apple's revenue for all types of products still come from Greater China region in the most recent quarter. So China is still one of the Apple's top market.
So there'll certainly be challenges ahead for Apple in China. And the company has some stiff competition in the Chinese market, particularly from domestic maker Huawei. We talked about its new Mate 60 Pro model last week, but this week saw the release of yet another iPhone 15 rival, which you reported on. So tell us a bit about the Huawei Mate X5.
Apple is the biggest winner in Chinese smartphone market the biggest in the world after Washington restricted Huawei's access to secure enough vital chips. It grabbed a lot of Huawei's market share, especially in premium models. Actually, back in 2019, Apple's market share in China was only 9%, but it has now grown so much, and it even got more than 20% in the last quarter of 2022 and the first quarter of 2023, and it even became number one player in China. And in 2019, actually, Huawei's share was top is 35% to 40%, and now only 10%. So it's very interesting to look at this new round of competition between our world's two leading tech champions, Apple and Huawei in China. So like what you said, Huawei secretly put another 5G capable, this time a foldable smartphone on pre-sale just ahead of Apple's iPhone launch. So it's very, very interesting. We heard about Huawei will do a formal launch of all these devices later this month as well.
Right. So as you mentioned, I think it's fair to say that Huawei has struggled a bit over the past few years, plunging in the global smartphone rankings. But do these two new phones signify a comeback for the company? And if so, what could that mean for China in its ongoing battle against the US's tech crackdown?
It's Huawei's second soft release in the matter of days, and the teardown and the tech reviews all indicate that these phones use Huawei's own Kirin 5G mobile processor. We've already reported back in July that Huawei is teamed up with China's top chip maker SMIC to bring back its 5G processors. And now we see these phones already have these processors inside. So this is indeed a major breakthrough. It's also mean a lot to China's semiconductor industry, because it seems that they've already find some ways to get around of U.S. tech crackdown. So a lot of U.S. lawmakers and congressmen think it's a blow to their export control. But the two low-key releases do not guarantee Huawei's comeback will be a success, with analysts warning that the company may still face trouble securing enough supply of these advanced chips, and the yields and production quality cannot compete with global players. Also, it's much more expensive to operate under blacklisting. Although they bring back this 7-nanometer process chip, it's the China's most advanced node by domestic chip maker. But look at Apple. Apple's iPhone used 7-nanometer process chip produced by TSMC in its iPhone back in 2018 already. So it's actually already a 5-year-old technology. It's just still very a breakthrough in China if it's by local Chinese-made chip maker.
I see. Well, thanks so much for that rundown, Annie. And the Apple versus Huawei rivalry will definitely be something that I'm sure we'll hear more from you on in the coming months. Now, just before we go, are there any other tech-related pieces that you'd like to recommend this week?
Yes, we have a great story to look at what does it mean for Alibaba's head of cloud unit, Daniel Zhang, to leave his post. This is his another departure as the group chair and the CEO after Alibaba founder Jack Ma returned to the country from overseas trips earlier this year and act behind the scenes with his influence to reshuffle the company. And then for more on tech, please join me on September 26th for a webinar with Chris Miller, author of The Chip War, and G. Dan Hutchison, Vice Chair of Tech Insights, where we will talk about more untold stories of the global battle for semiconductor dominance. Register the panel soon and tell us what questions you want to ask.
Yes, I'm so glad you bring up that webinar, Annie, and I'm really looking forward to it and would highly recommend all listeners to sign up. Well, thank you so much for coming on to chat today. It's always a pleasure to have you, and I hope that you will come back on again soon.
Bye-bye.
That's all for this episode. Thank you very much to Annie for joining me. You can read more of her reporting, along with a host of other stories about Asia's tech industry, on Nikkei Asia's website, asia.nikkei.com. And if you like what you hear, why not subscribe to our weekly Tech Asia newsletter, which will be delivered to your inbox every Thursday. There's a link to sign up in the show notes, where you can also find a link to sign up for Annie's upcoming webinar. And check back in next time for more updates on the tech trends that matter.